murder wise. Grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple lies. You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
Before we get started, if you want to see more awesome comic book videos like this one, it only takes 2 clicks to become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers. Click, click. What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie, Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about Jonathan Hickman and Pepe Larraz's House of X, or as I prefer to call House of Flex, number 6. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of story and exposition and developments that are going on in this issue that I think really are going to play a heavy role in future X-Men storylines to come, and I'm here for it. In this video, we are going to talk about the formation of the Quiet Council. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, and we're going to talk about the reveal of who the members of the Quiet Council are. More importantly, we're also going to discuss the commandments, the 3 most important laws of Krakoa. We're going to talk about all this and more right now. This book, it starts off with a very interesting little piece of information, some exposition, and I almost feel like we should have got this earlier in the series, like maybe this should have been at the very beginning, but by the very nature of the storytelling tools that Hickman is using, what he's employing here, it's actually not a surprise that he didn't, because honestly, maybe it would not have been as impactful. But what we get to see is the very first message that Charles sends out the moment that Magneto and Mora and Charles together have finally decided that it's time to address the world and basically let them know that life is changing right now in much the same way that he's done in the past in storylines, and even we kind of saw highlighted in House of X number 2 when we were kind of going through the mini lives of Mora McTaggart. He basically addresses the world through Cerebro and tells the world that, yeah, the dream that I had, the dream I had for mutants and humankind to live in peace and prosperity and harmony, the very, Martin Luther King, I had a dream scenario, it was a lie. And he recognizes that now, that the things he wanted to do, the things he wanted to see humans and mutants accomplish in tandem with each other, working together in harmony, the thing he's always wanted more than anything else, it's not gonna happen. And at the very least, even if it does, not the way that he wanted it. Basically what he's saying here, he is making an offer to humanity. He says at one point in time, these would have been gifts, free and clear, just an offering in friendship, and that's what it would have been. These mutant drugs, these drugs that can cure ALS, they can cure cancer, they can cure mental illnesses, they can extend human life beyond its natural bounds, and you could have had it. And it is one of these moments where, me being this guy who's like a huge movie buff, it kind of took me back to a scene in Copland. Charles is basically saying,
"Cop, I'm being a cop now. I'm here. I offered you for some help. I need to do something. I need to do this for myself.
Listen to me, you deaf f***. I offered you a chance when we could have done something. I offered you a chance to be a cop, and you blew it. You blew it."
I love the setup here. I love what's going on here, because basically as he's giving this speech, as he's telling the world about how he watched his dream die, they're showing us humanity. They're showing us panels where humans are in hospitals, humans are in boardrooms, and they are just blown away, because this isn't some message that is being sent across the airwaves. This is a message that Charles is sending to humanity through their minds. We even get to see the Avengers kind of take pause for a second and go like, whoa. The Fantastic Four, Doctor Strange. We see these other characters who are also getting this message. This is not something that is just going to the normies of the world. This is going to everyone. His message even reaches Omega Sentinel and Dr. Gregor and her late husband Erasmus, because this is actually this is a month prior to the clandestine mission. I do appreciate the fact that we see a smile on Magneto's face as he's watching Charles basically lay down the law, because he's even telling them that if you are asking yourself the question, if you as a Humie are asking yourself a question as to who these mutants think they are, The answer is that mutants are the future. They are the evolutionary inevitability. The Earth's true inheritors. And I love this line because I feel like this line is probably Charles's biggest flex in all of this so far. In the whole entirety of House of Flex, this has been his biggest one. And it's here where he says, "You closed your eyes last night believing this world would be yours forever. That was your dream, and like mine, it was a lie. Here is a new truth. While you slept, the world changed." And this is a really big thing because this, and I know some people are gonna get upset with me. They're gonna get upset. I can already see it now. They're going to the keyboards right now, like, whoa. You know, some Yosemite Sam. But I just feel like this is one of those things where this is commentary on the real world. This is commentary on the real world that, yes, while you slept, the world changed on you. Like, you have been in this state of mind where everything is the way that you thought it was going to be forever. You thought that this was like your life, the way things are, the privilege and the things, the advantages that you have enjoyed. Have you just assumed that they were going to be yours forever, and that nothing else was going to come along and maybe, I don't know, challenge that? And maybe not even say necessarily challenge, but maybe someone else would also get that opportunity. You thought that it was just gonna be you. And now that the mutants are finally getting their turn, as Charles stated in the last issue of Powers of 10, that for the first time, mutants are actually getting a fair chance. And that's exactly what's going on here. Because I have often said this for a long time, is that oftentimes to the privileged, other people gaining equality would seem unfair to them. And in this case, it's not even so much equality. Because really, it's all the mutants want. They just want to be recognized as a nation state in good standing and have their sovereignty be something that people actually take into account and respect. But I mean, Charles is basically saying that, yeah, the world has changed. Just like Magneto said in House of Flex #1, we are your new gods. I love it. I'm here for it. I love it. I love the commentary. I know some people get upset because they've been reading X-Men comics for over 20 years and somehow just now recognized that there is actual commentary in these books because your child brain couldn't comprehend the things that you were being told. Your child brain couldn't recognize that there was social commentary going on because your brain just wasn't developed enough to recognize it. And now that your brain is, now all of a sudden you want to be offended. But no, that is how the X-Men have always been. And if you are only just now figuring it out, then the last horse has finally crossed the finish line. Honestly, in all this, I don't really mean to be punching down, but I just feel like this is something that I always have to address in the comments for every X-Men video that I ever do, because there are always that subsect of people that always want to sit up here and go, well, you're overthinking it. There's no social commentary here. You're just seeing what you want to see. These are just stories. I don't know about you guys, but I always feel like, and I think someone said this in the comments a long time ago when I first started covering the X-Men, but oftentimes the people who claim to be the biggest X-Men fans never really seem to talk from the perspective of Charles Xavier, or even Magneto for that matter. They usually end up sounding like the villains, like William Stryker, or Graydon Creed, Bolivar Trask, I don't know, but that's usually what some of you sound like. I'm just like, wow, you guys sound like you say the word mutie a lot. But that said, now that I've run some of you off most likely, let's talk about the Quiet Council. Quiet Council was something that we did address a little bit in Powers of Drip. You know, Powers of 10, we got at House of Flex, we got Powers of Drip, because that's exactly what's going on here. It's a thing now, we're making it a thing. But in Powers of Drip #5, we learned that yes, there's a Quiet Council, and this council, well, which originally had 12 seats, actually has 14. Now, originally, we did know that Professor X, Magneto, Emma Frost, Sebastian Shaw, and even though technically they tried to black it out, but it did show up anyway because, you know, how that was set up. But we also know that Mystique was also a part of that, which has been fully confirmed. She is, in fact, a council member. And we also learned that Cypher and Krakoa also sit on this council as 13th and 14th chairs. But now we absolutely know, without any doubt whatsoever, who all of these members are, with the exception of one. And it actually goes back to that picture I showed in the last video for Powers of Drip number 5. We actually, I don't know if I actually keep this up. I don't think I'll be able to keep this up. Anyway, Powers of 10 number 5, where I showed you a little image that had all these mutants together, and some of them looked like they had a place, some of them seemed more random, but it actually was the Council. And what they were doing is they were holding a chair open, and you could see Nightcrawler, you know, almost as if he's welcoming someone to come sit down. But we can confirm that yes, Apocalypse sits on the autumn portion of the Council alongside Professor X and Magneto. Mr. Sinister and Exodus sit on the winter portion of the Council alongside Mystique. We learn that Storm, Jean Grey, and Nightcrawler sit on the Summer Council as the 10, 11, and 12 chairs. And we also see that the Black King, Sebastian Shaw, and the White Queen, Emma Frost. The member that we don't know who they are yet is the Red King. Now, I did talk about in the previous episode of the Blerd Cave that there is going to be a Red Queen, and that Red Queen will likely be Kitty Pryde, or Kate, as she is now kind of, you know, become more commonly called. And so we don't know who the Red King is yet. The Red King has not been revealed. And they're not even really addressing this issue. I was actually kind of surprised that they didn't just pull up right here and there, because usually when they set up a page like this, usually something is about to be answered. In this case, it wasn't answered yet. So maybe it'll be answered in the next issue, though I doubt that, because that one seems to be very Mora-centric. This isn't necessarily directly addressed in this issue, but we do learn about the Great Captains. Now, I was actually genuinely surprised that Cyclops did not have a seat on this council. However, I do see him in a position that I think is actually really, you know, interesting. It is basically stated that the council is recognized as the ruling body on Krakoa, but there is a ruling body in terms to the defense of the state of Krakoa. And it says that when there is a state-related excursion or in times of conflict or war, the Great Captains step up and assume control. In the field, the Captain has complete and total autonomy. And not only are there Great Captains, but they're also Captain Commanders. And Cyclops is considered the Captain Commander. He is the head of the Captains. There's no one else who is equal to him on the Captains but himself. And I also found the other members both surprising and refreshing. We see that Gorgon is a member of the Captains, and so is Bishop, as well as Magic. Now, getting back to the Quiet Council, the reason why we're talking about them today is because we are learning about Mutant Justice. The Council is meeting, this is for the first time, to discuss what the way is going forward. And there's some really interesting conversations that are being had here. Because at this particular point, mutant law has no real or true definition. It was something more of kind of a loose code that they had been living by up to this point since they've been on Krakoa. Man, can we please put some respect on the name of Cypher real quick? I just love the fact that Cypher is just chilling in the goddamn bushes of Krakoa, just chilling like a straight up G. If Cypher would have at some point just said, let me holla at you, player, I would have totally bought it. I would have totally bought it. But anyway, the first order of business, and this is something even Nightcrawler recognizes, that it always goes back to what it always has, and that's judgment. And what they're about to do is, when we saw that scene in, I think it was House of Flex number 3, we realized that, yeah, Sabretooth, he's not gonna be tried in a human court. He has diplomatic immunity. All mutants have amnesty from human law. And more importantly, only mutants can judge him. And we now discover that, yeah, this wasn't something they were just doing. This wasn't just lip service. This wasn't just something they were saying, just say, oh, we're mutants, you can't touch us and no one else can. But no, it's like, no, we judge our own. And that's what they're gonna do. Sabretooth is being judged. Because this particular point, the thing that comes up is that, what is the law of Krakoa? What they're here to do is they are here to try and figure out what the laws of the land are going to be, and we kind of get to watch this unfold. It's really entertaining. Because really, when you think about it, when you are a mutant, you live on an island where even if you die, you cannot necessarily stay dead because you could be resurrected. And at the same time, no mutant should harm another mutant. No mutant should kill another mutant. Or, I mean, they can, but they won't stay dead. But Marvel Girl poses a point that I think is very interesting, because you gotta think about this. In a world where you hold all the cards, in a world where you hold the power, and the power that you hold over others is something that will probably make them fear you, maybe the law that you should be most concerned with is that those with power shouldn't kill those who don't. And what Marvel Girl is referring to is the fact that maybe as a law, maybe as one of the commandments of Krakoa, is that no mutant should ever kill a human. Now, this does bring up some very slippery slope arguments here, because as Mystique points out, well, what do we do when they come for us? You know, the kind of the classic Magneto argument, you know, what are you gonna do when they come for your children? And Magneto also agrees with Mystique, but he also agrees with Jean Grey. He says it himself, Jean is right. Technically, yes, they are gonna probably come for us, but we will defend ourselves nonetheless. But despite that, we are not going to be the ones who seek out conflict. If the conflict must come to us, it must come to us, and then we'll act accordingly. And of course, Apocalypse, he doesn't really give a shit, because, I mean, it's humans. He doesn't care about the realm of humans. He only cares about the realm of mutants. So as far as he's concerned, yeah, he's in full agreement. I also really like in this book the fact that there are some very subtle storytelling elements that are being laid down here that kind of let you know, and I'm gonna address this a little bit more a little later. The Quiet Council is dealing in all things, and I find all of this stuff really interesting. The fact that when Sebastian Shaw is bringing up the idea of how we're gonna handle property rights, wealth, and currency and things of that nature, Cypher brings up the fact that, hey, we can't talk about Krakoa like it's a piece of property. We have to talk about it like it is a living thing, because Krakoa is a living thing. But it also brings with this really interesting argument that I think is going to probably come back later. These are all little seeds I feel are being planted. The fact that at some point, maybe Krakoa will feel as though it's being treated like a thing and not something that's alive. Because even Storm recognizes the fact that, yes, Krakoa is a living thing, but maybe sometimes we have certain words for certain things and we just don't know how to address it any other way. And I think Exodus has probably the best mentality. Exodus sees Krakoa as holy ground. He sees it as a place that is sacrosanct, a word that I don't get to say very often in a sentence, and he uses it here, so I get to use it, so there you go. Love that word. But basically what he means is a place that is sacred, a place that is holy, holy ground. Just by virtue of loving this place and being in this place, they should, in fact, lift it up and elevate its status. Basically what he's saying is recognizing Krakoa as a living thing is probably for the best. And I also find this really funny because I feel like there's a moment here that is had that probably should have been had in the X-Men 2, X2 movie, whatever, which never really occurred. But I also like it when Mystique and Nightcrawler act, because, you know, mother and son. So there you go. You know, she's believing that, oh, well, you know, he's gonna use his Catholic sensibilities. He's gonna use his religion to try and police us all. But the thing is, Nightcrawler's not necessarily here to preach down to them. He thinks that the idea of what they should be handling first, the idea, this whole reason the council was called, maybe is not just to met out Judgement to Sabretooth. It's not just to, you know, figure out how we handle the economics of Krakoa, but maybe to talk about creating more mutants. And I really like this because it also goes back to something we see at the very beginning of the book, where Charles is saying that, you know, hey, is what we have perfect? No, what is? But it's a start, and a good one, and I couldn't agree more. But now we know the rules of Krakoa. The rules are as follows. Make more mutants. First and foremost, murder no man. That means no killing of humans. And more importantly, respect this sacred land. And I think respect this sacred land can really kind of encompass all the other things pretty much that anyone else would probably be like, well, hey, well, why is it this a rule? Why isn't that a rule? But anyways, back to the judgment of Sabretooth. Sabretooth is going to be judged because at the end of the day, he fucked up. He broke one of the laws, and more importantly, technically broke two of them. Not only did he kill humans, but Magneto specifically told him not to kill any humans. So there you go. He has also been insubordinate, which that also kind of falls back into respecting the sacred land. You are ignoring the lay of the land, the laws of the land, just right off the wham. And pretty much everyone is in agreement here. Magneto says it best, you made your bed, now you must sleep in it. And everyone pretty much agrees. They're like, yes, it is time. I mean, now granted, I actually find it very interesting Mystique, who, you know, let's not forget that, you know, they also birthed a child together. You know, this is how Graydon Creed came into play. And she's completely over him, so as far as she's concerned, just like, hey, you're gonna do what you gotta do, just get it over with. And I love how everyone in just a few speech bubbles has basically given you everything that you need to have insight on, yes, these characters are who they are supposed to be. You look at it, Apocalypse, he's just straight to the point. Yeah, agreed. Mr. Sinister is not taking this seriously at all. In fact, he's reveling in it. Exodus is just one word to the point, just says he's guilty. Just Nightcrawler himself, he says it himself. He says, it shames me, but I agree. Marvel Girl is probably the only one who takes a pause because it's not really in her nature. Before she says yes, it's almost like she was thinking about it first. And of course, Storm says that this is something that's been long overdue. Sebastian Shaw, he couldn't be arsed. He's just like, okay, yeah, he don't even care. He's like, yeah, just get it over with, fine. And Emma Frost, more importantly, she's like, oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, let's get this done. And Sabretooth thinks that he actually has some kind of sway here. He thinks that, yeah, you guys can't hold me. I am going to kill all of you. I'm gonna kill your entire bloodlines, which is like, dude, you're talking wild spicy for a guy that's, standing trial right now. I love the fact that Charles isn't the one who tells Krakoa to act against Sabretooth. He tells Cypher, and then Cypher tells Krakoa what to do. So it kind of puts even more respect on Cypher's names. Like, yeah, no, you are calling the shots with Krakoa. Now, this is mostly due to the fact that Cypher is really the only one who can directly communicate with Krakoa. I mean, Charles can, but it's just the fact that, hey, the message will be made more clear if Cypher is the one who delivers it. Krakoa apparently is a fan of Dungeons & Dragons because it uses the spell Ensnare and takes Sabretooth down and is basically holding a guy who should, by all rights and purposes, be able to break free, but Krakoa is just that much stronger than him. What is Charles about to do? Because Charles is having Krakoa drag Sabretooth down into this pit, into this void within itself. And the thing is, he's not trying to kill him. He even says himself, the problem with sentencing you for your crimes is the fact that we technically, we can't send you back into the human world because you're just gonna kill more people and it's only gonna make life harder for us. And because this is Krakoa, because this is sacred land, prisons aren't tolerated here. So we can't imprison you, and we're not going to kill you, because if we kill you, that would basically enact our resurrection protocols, and that way you would just come back, you'd be resurrected, and you wouldn't learn anything. So the only way they can deal with people like Sabretooth is to basically put them in a stasis. Sabretooth will essentially be alive and aware of everything going on around him. He will be completely 100% awake. He just won't be able to do anything. And one of the things I love about this is the fact that Xavier says that this sentence will last for as long as Mutant Justice does. Forever. He even kind of muses as he falls into his pit that maybe perhaps one day he can be set free. Maybe he might have a chance to redeem himself, but that time is not now, and until it is, he's exiled. And Charles recognizes the fact that, maybe this wasn't the best idea. Maybe this isn't, the most humane thing to do. I mean, in a sense, Xavier's basically pulling some CW Flash bullshit with how they would keep people in prison in Star Labs, and we'd always have these questions like, okay, well, how long are you gonna keep these people here? There's no court system, like what's really going on here? That's kind of what they're doing here, but honestly, I think this is a better idea. But I think Hickman found a way to do what they do on the CW's Flash better than CW's Flash. Now let's get into some of these little subtle storytelling beats that I really like, because we see the fact that, they're celebrating. Fireworks are going off, mostly thanks to Dazzler, because Dazzler is putting on a performance. We see that Siren is also performing with her. We see Banshee. We see all of these characters just wilding right now. The party is live. Krakoa, stay lit 24/7. I love it. I'm here for it. One of the things I also really enjoy, and I really appreciate this, is the fact that we see 3 of the 5-piece original recipe X-Men. We see Angel, Iceman, and Beast laughing it up, having ice cold brews. It's just great. We see Exodus, who is just enjoying himself. He's like doing something we don't really get to see Exodus do very often in the comics. He's happy. He's telling these children a story about the campfire. It's great. It takes me back to House of Flex #1, where we saw Wolverine just playing in the grass with children, laughing and having a good time. It's like the mutants are having the moment of their lives, and I'm here for it. We even get to see the love triangle, Cyclops and Jean Grey, with Wolverine right in the middle, and he's got his arms around both of them. They're sharing ice cold brews. It is fantastic. And what I love about it, to kind of further cement the idea that this is peacetime, this is a peacetime scenario, something they talked about in Powers of 10, that there's a time where there was peace and prosperity between mutants. And one of the things I want to point out too, and it is not lost on me, ladies and gentlemen, the fact that in the scene where we see Wolverine take one of those ice cold brews and is walking him down to Gorgon, one of his most hated rivals, one of his most hated enemies, and he's about to offer this man an ice cold brew. I want you to know, ladies and gentlemen, it was not lost on me that my guy, Sync, popped up in a panel. Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, right there as Wolverine is walking past, we see little Brew down there in the bottom right corner of this panel, but I want to also point out to you, ladies and gentlemen, that we also see Skin, and Skin is hugged up and laughing while they're sharing some ice cold brews themselves. He is sitting right there, god damn it, laughing with my guy, your guy, our guy, Sync. Thank you, Mr. Hickman and Mr. Larraz. But once again, yeah, Wolverine is sharing an ice cold brew with Gorgon, basically burying the hatchet. And they're sharing that brew. It is just freaking insane. Not only that, but we're also showing that some other things may be getting put to bed, as Jean Grey and Cyclops are also, they're sitting, they're sharing that 6-pack. And Jean looks over, sees Emma Frost sitting by herself as she takes one of those brews and sits down next to Emma and offers her one. And it's amazing to me because at this particular moment, Emma just kind of looks over and sees Cyclops, hugged up with Havoc. And it's great. Everything is just great. But anyways, everyone is celebrating. It's just fantastic. I do love the fact that we see Apocalypse just kind of sitting back in the back, just back in the cut, chilling, watching on as Magneto and Charles are kind of like watching the fireworks go off and kind of surveying all their good works. To the point Magneto even has to say, just look at what they've made. Kind of the opposite of, going back to the whole issue with House of Flex #4, where he said, hey, look at what they've done. Now look at what we've done. They always create death. They are always killing us, but we have created something. We also learned that there is, in fact, more than one Krakoa on the planet Earth. There actually are 2. We knew about Krakoa Pacific. We knew about this one already. This is the one that we've kind of always been aware of. But we learned that there is a Krakoa Atlantic as well. That one is a little bit more broken up than the other Krakoa. But Krakoa Atlantic is where Danger Island is, which is kind of like their new and upgraded version of the Danger Room, but instead of being just a single room, it's now an entire island, kind of cut off from the rest of Krakoa, but just the same, it's there. And we also learned that some other things have been added to Krakoa Pacific as well. Like we learned that Hellfire Bay has been set up, which is where the Hellfire Trading Company is going to come into play. We see Blackstone, which is likely Sebastian Shaw's place of residence. We also see the White Palace, which is very clearly for Emma Frost. And we also see the Red Keep, which is likely going to be for the Red Queen and the Red King, which we know that Shadowcat is going to be the Red Queen. I wonder if Colossus will wind up being the Red King. Or maybe it's Omega Red, I don't know. We also see another part of the island, which is section number 18, which is blacked out. So we don't know what that is just yet. And we also know that Bar Sinister has been moved to Krakoa. So it is also very tip top of Krakoa, a small little island spot that's just kind of right off the coast. But anyways, I love this. I love this issue. This is the penultimate issue. We still got one more issue to go. Powers of 10, #6, which comes out next week. And man, I can't wait because the cover of it looks amazing. It's just Mora standing around a bunch of dead mutants. And yeah, I'm ready to see what's in there. I know the cover isn't always indicative of the things we're going to see happening, but I'm here for it nonetheless. But anyways, let me know what you think about Jonathan Hickman and Pepe Larraz's House of X #6. Sound off in the comments. So hey, you made it to the end of the video. Awesome for you. If you enjoyed this video, and if you made it this far, I don't see how you didn't, do me a favor. Hulk smash that like button. And if you want to see more awesome videos like this one, make sure you click subscribe so you can become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers, and tap that bell so you know when I post up. Also, feel free to go check out my Patreon, where if you chuck in $1, you can get early access to most of my videos up to a week early. And if you have time, make sure you swing by nerd901.com, where you can find more of my content as well as other amazing stuff. Anyways, until next time, I love you 3000 plus Ultra!